Warning. This podcast contains explicit sexual language and should only be listened to at work if you're looking for an excuse to connect with your HR representative. Additionally, all mentions of the word women include cis and trans women. If you are genderqueer, gender fluid, figuring it out, anything in between, and feel like this conversation is also important for you, you are welcome here.
Will you open up with me? These pages, they can feed your innermost desires. Do you feel inspired? Are you getting what you need? Are you coming curiously? A secret safe with me. And here you can simply be yourself. Sweet romance. Come on in, come on in, come on.
Hi, y'all. This is Jace, she, they, and you've found Jace Reads Romance, a community dedicated to empowering women about sex and sexuality through the reading of romance novels. Oh my goodness, I'm like excited and nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous. I'm nervous that I'm going to fuck it up, but I'm really excited. So this is funny. I don't know if Steffi knows this, but one of the first podcast episodes I ever pitched to Michael was a podcast called What Vanilla Can Learn from Kink. And I've probably mentioned that I've been wanting to do this for a while. It's
Yes.
like my not so secret TED Talk. Like it's basically what I think about it as.
I love that.
And I mean this both in terms of people who practice kink and people who practice vanilla, but also we can use really well done kink romance novels to educate us vanilla people. And the reason this idea came to me is because people who are vanilla, and I should, if you haven't listened to my definitions episode, number one, go back and listen to my definitions episode. When I say vanilla, what it means is not kinky. And when I personally say kinky, it means a sexual or not encounter that involves a consensual power exchange, typically containing negotiations between both parties. Now, what constitutes something being kinky and something being vanilla is pretty arbitrary. It is. It is. I had a conversation where someone asked me, what's something that you consider vanilla? I said, well, anal sex is vanilla. And the people I was having this conversation with went, what are you talking about? That is kinky. And my jaw was on the floor. On the floor. Because when I think about kink, I think of that power exchange. I think of something like play or scenes or impact or bondage or edging or whatever. Now, some of those can also be used in vanilla encounters, but it's the power exchange really that I think of when it comes to kink or not kink. You can have some fluffy pink handcuffs and use them in a vanilla way. And you can have some fluffy pink handcuffs and use them in a not vanilla way as well.
Not vanilla sounds, I don't know, not kinky, but...
Then let me rephrase. Then you can have some fluffy pink handcuffs and use them in a kinky way. So understand that these terms, while everyone has a definition for them, there isn't an official line drawn between the two, where once you cross, it's vanilla and until then is kink or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
What really inspired me to think about this topic and want to share it with you is the number of miscommunications around intimacy that not just are written about in books, but are also experienced in a vanilla life. And how society doesn't teach vanilla people how to vanilla sex. There are implied processes, there is portrayals in media, there are magazines and porn and lots of things that kind of generalize. But in the vanilla community, it's almost assumed you'll just know how it's done. And that's wrong.
The eye roll was
So
so
wrong.
loud that I just did.
It's so wrong. I think vanilla is looked at as something very small. Only this is vanilla sex. And all this is kink. And truly, vanilla sex is massive. There is so much that is encompassed under vanilla sex.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, it's all relative. Like with your statement, like you're like anal sex is vanilla, and the people you're talking to are like, no.
I think at the time I hadn't landed on kink involves the power exchange. I think I shortened it. I had shorthand in my brain of kink has negotiations, which in my brain was the discussion of the power exchange. And the people I was talking with are like, I absolutely have to negotiate about anal sex. I'm like, I mean, yeah, there's a joke about like birthdays and anniversaries, but like, if you've never heard that joke,
yeah,
it's very heteronormative.
It's
just
not a great
enjoy
joke.
that it's not a great joke, and enjoy that you don't have that. And it also brought up the like, well, why are negotiations kink? And I think in vanilla, there's this assumption that if you're vanilla, you're okay with everything under vanilla. That there are no limits. Your limits are that you're vanilla, and if it's not kinky, then you're fine with it.
Yeah.
And we as humans are just too varied for that to be the case. And where kink really shines is in those negotiations. First of all, kink has negotiations, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a negotiation with a vanilla partner the way that it does with a kink partner, because there's this power exchange, there's potentially dangerous things that are happening that need to be done safely. But in those negotiations, what you talk about is what you like. And in kink negotiation, there isn't an assumption, or I feel like the people that I know within the kink community or kinky exchanges that I've had, there isn't the assumption that the other person knows what I will like. Whereas in vanilla, it's, well, we're going to kiss and I get to put my tongue in my mouth and maybe a honka honka, which is my new thing. I'm just going to do it in like every episode now. That's a lie. I will not be doing it in every episode. I will not. But there's like, when I touch your boobs the way that I want to touch your boobs, because there's one way to touch your boobs. It's my way. And that's obviously the way that works for every person with boobs. And then I will insert my magical phallus within your vagina and poof, you will orgasm or you're broken. And I am going to talk mainly about male-female dynamics because, as we mentioned in other episodes, it is sadly the majority.
Yeah.
And I feel like whenever it is that you are breaking from the mass, the majority of anything, there are already assumptions and freedoms that you have. Most people I know who are queer have these kinds of conversations with their partner and these understandings that if we're already breaking the mold in this big way of who we want to fuck, then we should also discuss how we want to fuck.
Yeah.
And that those conversations are happening more, I'm not going to say already, but more frequently within the queer community than I find within a heterosexual couple. So just because I'm going to use male female doesn't mean that anyone in the queer community doesn't fit into this conversation. But from my understanding and experience, y'all have a leg up, if you would.
Yeah.
Ahead of time, people in the kink community are having these negotiations. They're having the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, some of it is to build anticipation. Oh, I can't wait. How exciting. We're going to do X, Y, Z. But some of it is just to get to know your partner. And these negotiations in kink are not happening while mid-scene.
No.
While playing.
Nope.
They are happening sometimes days. I'd say like sometimes even weeks. I know people who will plan scenes out weeks in advance.
Oh, yeah.
In advance. So you're having these conversations. What do I like? What do I not? Let me think about it. Let's discuss. Separate from play, separate from sex. And if you don't know, play and scening in kink can include sex. It can also not include sex.
Yep.
So just reminding all my people listening who are so vanilla, you have no idea what is behind the curtain of kink. Sometimes it includes sex and sometimes it doesn't. So in listing the things that vanilla can learn from kink, we're going to take this idea of negotiation and transform it into a conversation. You might not be negotiating, you might not like that word, but we're including a conversation about what we want to do with our partner. And it doesn't have to be for everything. It could be generally, what do I like? What feels good? What doesn't feel good? What are my favorite positions? What can you do that's more likely to make me orgasm? Do I even care about orgasming? Do I have baggage or sensitive places or, contraindications that you need to know about as we move forward in our intimate life? And these conversations can happen and apply to all of your intimacy. Mm-hmm. They can be specific to a single encounter. Like if you're putting something new into play, like, hey, I want to try this new position. Maybe this podcast inspires you to go back to missionary for the first time in a decade. Congratulations. I recommend a rocking motion.
Yes, I agree with that.
I feel like now that I know my video is going to be out there, I am so much more likely to do weird things than I did when we started. And I was like, I get to look like a hermit and you don't care because no one's going to see my face. So enjoy all of that.
I mean, you saw what I looked like the first few times we recorded. I was like pajamas and...
I think I still wore the mask like while we were recording.
You did.
First couple times. I did. And then I realized it weirded people out when I was having legitimate conversations with them. So thank you to all of you who let me wear the mask and still treated me like a human. So that's the first thing. So there's this conversation that happens before sex. And I'm going to return indent underneath that. Mm-hmm. In negotiation, there are limits in kink. And they talk about things that are off the table, on the table, but maybe we should be cautious about it. I've never tried it, but I'm interested. Things of that nature. Those still exist in vanilla. Absolutely. There are things that you might like or you might hate. And it's very important to clearly state something that might feel bad in your body, because the assumption that tends to happen in the vanilla world is anything that my penis can do to you feels great. And if your partner had a previous lover who adored their cervix being hit, but it hurts you, your partner is going to think, oh man, the best thing I can do for her is hit her cervix and go as deep as I can. Yeah. And that's terrible. That's going to cause you pain. Yeah. You haven't talked. That's going to cause you discomfort. That depending on what your trauma is internally, like maybe you have a really short vagina and an IUD, like they're going to get poked with some strings. Like, you don't know, maybe this partner has the biggest dick you've ever fucked. You got to warn your partner that there are some strings up there.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Like realistically, like 5 inches is going to get to your cervix, but I'm just thinking in like romance sphere of like I just read
Oh no.
Airpeen. If y'all remember, I read Halloween.
Yes.
And then at Love Y'all, so Angela Montoya at Love Y'all said that she had just read Airpeen, and I was like, yeah, all Holly Wild. She's gonna take you on a journey. And then it was literally brought up in every single panel after that, because it just went through the whole conference like Airpeen, Airpeen, Airpeen. And I did just read it. 11 inches.
No.
11 inches of silicone airplane phalluses. 3 of them.
3 of them?
3 of them.
All at the same time? Was this a TVP?
Yeah. Oh, no, in like just TP. Just TP. It's
I about had a heart attack.
I mean, I did ruin this for the wrap. This is the first time I've ruined a wrap-up book in a while.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was necessary. So like,
yes.
So again, you have no idea what's going to happen. So underneath, so we've got negotiations into conversations. And in the conversation, you should have some conversation about things, yes, that feel good and things that feel bad that you're not willing to try. Maybe for you, anal is off the table for X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's we could start playing. Maybe it's I don't want to. Maybe it's I do it every Tuesday. It's my favorite. I don't know. So that...
So
whatever.
Just a little insight into Steffi. I don't, this is going to be pretty explicit, but I don't do ass to mouth.
Yeah.
Now, I may have considered it at one time, but I have trauma from a previous partner. So that's the reason for me. Now, what would happen, and you might be getting into this, but what would happen if you've never had sex before and you want to have this conversation with your partner?
That is such a good question. And I think that's going to lead me into the next indent under the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So in Kink, we call them safe words or progressions. Mm-hmm. And they are ways in the midst of play that you can communicate how you're feeling with your partner. And one of the things I love about safe words is that they don't communicate feeling. Like they are an on-off switch, because your partner in the midst of a scene or in the midst of sex is feeling very vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And saying something like, and saying anything emotional about how you're feeling right in the midst of it can be hard to hear for your partner. So the clear instruction of a safe word or a safe word progression takes the guesswork and potentially the emotional reaction away from your partner. And understanding and having a conversation as part of that conversation that safe words and limits, they're not you did anything bad. How dare you? Naughty, naughty. They are, we tried something new. I went a little bit too far. I didn't realize how I was going to feel. We need to adjust. And there are kind of, I think the two, and Steffi, this is where you're going to help me. Mm-hmm. There is there are kind of two things I'm going to talk about. There is the traffic light system that I think is very prevalent nowadays, which I love for teaching purposes. I love the idea of it because it's something kind of ubiquitous to those of us who live in places with cars, where you have red, yellow, green. Green means everything's good. What you're doing is feeling good. I'm in a good headspace. Let's keep going. Yellow means I'm nearing my limit. I don't know if I like this. We might need to adjust or give me a pause. Red means we have to stop what we're doing right now.
Yes.
For any number of reasons.
Yeah.
For any number, red means we stop right now. Yellow, we need to check in and maybe adjust. Green, let's keep going.
Yes.
And some people don't love using those traffic light systems, like literally the words red, yellow, green, and they'll create some sort of other established exchange between the two parties.
Yeah.
And this is where you get jokes like, my safe word is pineapple.
Apple. Yeah.
Now, often when it comes to created safe words, the safe word is just for a stop what you're doing right now. And I hear less frequently of a word that's established between partners for that kind of yellow zone. But that's where check-ins come in. That's where you say, I'm going to check in with you and ask how you're doing, and you can communicate, I'm doing good, we're nearing a limit, I don't know, like this binding feels something you might not know about. I don't know if you know about me. I have my veins are very accessible and they get cut off with bondage very easily. So I can go from this feels comfortable to I have no blood flow very quickly. Very, very quickly.
Another thing that, like, with the check-ins and whatever, is if you're in a scene or whatever, your partner may ask you to tell them your safe word as a form of check-in. Just to see like where you are mentally on the level within the scene itself. And I actually really like that check-in, because it's like, okay, they are listening for the safe word. They want to make sure that I remember my safe word and that I'm not to the point where I need to use it yet necessarily.
And then you're in the headspace that like, oh, I'm still checking in with my body and making sure that like I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that vanilla people need safe words too. And so that's where like conversation indent 1 is your limits. Indent 2 is safe word, because this is where the real-time communication happens. And often in vanilla relationships, society tells us that you can't say no to it. If it's under vanilla and you say you're vanilla, then you just do it.
Lie there and think of England.
Lie there and think of England. You should be okay with blowing me. You should be okay with getting fingered. You should be okay with anything. Like, I will say the ass is probably like the most controversial vanilla thing, but
yeah, I can see that.
And that men's, do I want to say men's egos are fragile? Yes, I'm going to say men's egos are fragile, because it is really hard to tell men, as a woman, it's really hard to tell men no when you don't know how they'll react and whether or not you will be safe telling them no.
100%. 100%.
And so, like, if you, this is a queer book, so sorry, but in the book Cleat Cute, one of the women is going down on the other and she does something weird and the orgasm is lost. Okay? Now, I literally, with many of my partners, I will tell you that has happened a lot. And I just shut my mouth and was like, how do you tell your partner that they just did something to lose your orgasm? Because you don't know if they're going to respond with something mean about you and your vagina or your clit. You don't know if they're going to get frustrated. You don't know if they're going to use this as an excuse to say, well, you're hard to satisfy, so I won't worry about giving you an orgasm ever.
Ugh.
You don't know.
You don't.
I know. Heterosexuality is the worst sexuality.
We need to stick that into the theme song, Diana.
Oh my God. Man, it is. And I don't know how to fix men. I'm not one. And that's, I read something. Adrienne Herrera just had a really beautiful Instagram post that I will link in the show notes because one of the things she said was, every single time I write a cis white man, they are the patriarchy. They are the problem. And one of the things that I have to do is dismantle the patriarchy within that character to make them worthy of my FMC. And I was like,
fuck, I love that.
That's telling it like amazing. It is.
No kidding.
I know. She's amazing. She's amazing. If you haven't read the La Leona's trilogy, just go do it. Go do it. It's so good. It's so good. Now, when it comes to people who are, and I'm going to go with trying big things for the first time. Can we go with that?
That's a good way to
just
say
because
it.
you haven't had intercourse doesn't mean you haven't had sexual experiences before. There's virginity is a spectrum. Let's also acknowledge that.
I like that.
Virginity spectrum. Like,
that.
Like, what constitutes virginity?
I would also say that virginity is a construct.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
100%.
It's a made-up thing.
Yes.
It's like, that's a made-up word. All words are made up. Like, it's a made-up thing.
Yes.
So
I like the idea that it's a spectrum, though, because it's very true.
I think it's true. And that anytime you're experiencing a new level of intimacy, and I really mean that, like, I remember the first human I let like touch my boobs. I remember that.
Yeah, me too.
I know who it was. I know where we were. I know how that person made me feel, both in the moment and after the moment, which is a story for a different time, my friend. Let's just put that out there. And, second base might not feel like something that is a big milestone, but it is. It's a massive milestone in intimacy and needs to be talked about. So I'm going to go with any time that you are planning to cross or experience or do something new intimately with a partner, cross some big thing not off the to-do list, but like experience it for the first time. These are really important because you also don't know what you don't know. So let's say you've literally never had a male partner or any partner go down on you. You could not tell that partner necessarily your likes or dislikes. You might tell them what appeals to you. You might say what doesn't appeal to you. You're like, if your partner says like 3 fingers right away, maybe not.
Oh, God.
Like, can I use teeth? Let's not start there.
No.
Like, teeth, you look, if you want teeth down there, that is fine, but you get to choose. That is someone better be asking for teeth.
Yes.
When giving oral sex. If you are giving oral sex to a partner, you do not use teeth unless someone asks you for teeth, regardless of the genitals of your partner.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep. That's where the conversation comes in. Bringing it back.
Bringing it back. I feel like Steffi is getting so much better at bringing it back. So the conversation isn't going to be in terms of then absolutes. This is what I like. This is what I don't. But here's what I've read about, here's what I understand it to be. Is your understanding of fingering the same understanding that I have of fingering? Maybe not. Maybe you're like 1 and your partner's like 5. Like, number one, separately, that's called fisting, and it's fine.
Not for me.
Let's go with not for me.
Not for me.
I do not want to be a puppet. Okay. So in the conversation, we've got limits, the yeses and nos, what I like, what I don't. Mm-hmm. We've got safe words. What am I going to use to tell you hit my cervix, that I'm getting a cramp, that my shoulder popped out of socket, that I really like what you're doing, keep going, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And this is something that not for everything, but especially for when you're trying something new, plan it. If you're involved in a kink scene, you plan it.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tie you up in this way with this rope. I'm going to put you in this position. I'm going to touch your body in this big picture way. It's not like 3 strikes with I mean, it could literally be that detailed.
It can be. Yeah.
It can be. It isn't always, right? But progression of what you can expect from me and you with your body in this scene.
Right.
And I think that's important when you're trying something new for the first time too. I think anal sex is the thing I'm going to talk about with this because it's still taboo, and get the fuck over yourself.
Yeah.
So, and Michael's going to be like, that's not how it goes. Big picture, Michael. Big picture.
Come on, Michael.
Come on. If you want to talk to me about anal sex, you get your ass back on the podcast.
Yep.
Then
that's how it works.
So the progression of what's going to happen. I want to make out. I want you to pin me to the wall. I want you to play with my tits. I want you to suck on my shoulders. Mm-hmm. I want you to go down on me. I'm going to use 1 finger. I'm going to use 2 fingers. We're going to get like, especially if it's a female person, I'm going to get you all the blood flowing in that direction first. And then how am I going to like prep you? If you're having vaginal intercourse, you still should have some preparation. Because you've had vaginal intercourse before does not mean you shouldn't have a little hand help to like make some space down there.
Absolutely.
Like, and when not in use, your vagina is small.
Yeah. And lube is totally okay to use with vaginal sex. Like
all the time.
All the time. Like lube is not something that is only used for anal sex. No, use it all the time for everything.
Everything. What was it? Courtney said, like, rules are slow down, use more lube.
Yes.
So once you're feeling really sexy, you're excited, you're calm. If you're someone who does multiple orgasms, maybe you've been given an orgasm already in some way, shape, or form, then you're going to prep. And this is where you and your partner are going to talk about it. Are you going to use a toy? Are you going to use your finger? What lube do you have? Make sure that it's not silicone lube on a silicone toy. If you don't know why, come do your research.
Yes.
Take care of your toys. And like, what position are you going to do it in? Yeah. What prep do you have on the bed? Because depending on where you are, that's a wet spot that you might not want to sleep in. Where's a towel?
Exactly.
Oh my God, I have somehow come across this dude on a social media platform. I'm ashamed to say which one. I'm not going to share. And he talks about having a waterproof blanket that he puts on his bed and then we'll put a towel over. And it's a blanket where if you pour water on it, the water beads. So when we're talking about getting ready for anal sex, it might be that like this first time you're not even having anal sex. It's just like, hey, I want a lubed up finger in my butt when you're fucking me from behind. It might be that we use a plug and I wear a plug for a little bit or for while we're doing something else. Like there are a lot of different progressions, but if you're envisioning, and that's where this conversation and the planning comes in, because you might say, this is what I want for my prep work. And it's going to take several sessions of sex and doing X, Y, and Z before I'm even ready to have anal sex.
Yeah.
And your partner might just hear anal sex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't wait to put it in there. I really don't hate men sometimes. I like, as much as it sounds like I do, I don't hate individual men folks, but as a whole, they're pretty terrible. They're pretty terrible.
Yeah.
So we've got negotiation. So we've got this. All right, back to our list. Conversation. If you want to do like kink and vanilla, like kink, negotiation, conversation. Underneath, limits, likes and dislikes. Next, safe words. How do we communicate while we're together? And then planning. Yes, and then planning. Both of them can be planning. It's not called anything different in kink, is it?
No. I just want to say, like, the planning stage of it, I'm pretty sure is going to sound super unsexy.
It's not unsexy.
It is not unsexy.
It's not unsexy. I honestly, like, even if you have different visions for what you were planning to do, like, again, he's just like, I want to put it in there. And you are like, I want X, Y, and Z, telling him or having him tell you like what he wants to do to you, what he envisions doing to you, what you envision doing to him or having him do to you. Like, it might sound clinical when we're talking about it, but I don't think I can say the words, I want you to stick your fingers in my ass to a partner and not like feel all those feelings about it. And then your partner will see you feeling all those things about it and be like, oh my God, yeah, I want to stick my fingers in your ass. And then you're like, oh my gosh, now my partner wants to do that to me. Oh, that's exciting. One finger or two, one or two. Tell me, what do you envision? I can't wait. Are you going to get a manicure ahead of time? Oh my God, get a manicure ahead of time. But like, oh yeah, absolutely. Are you going to get the jumbo size bottle of lube? I can't wait. Don't get peppermint lube or cinnamon lube or flavored lube. Just get normal lube.
Normal lube. Normal lube.
It's so accessible. But like, it sounds so clinical. It can sound like a laundry list of like, this is what I expect you to do. But remember, we were even talking about this when it came to the timing of romance novel scenes. Like, they're not real life. So like, you say, I want you to stick my fingers in your ass. That sentence took less than 10 seconds to say. That is potentially like 10 minutes or more of play, of time, of like intimacy, of whatever it is when it comes to the actual act of doing. What can vanilla learn from kink? I think the negotiation, I actually think I might want to make this like a much longer series.
I would agree with that.
Now, let's also just put out there that the first time you try to have this conversation is going to feel awkward as fuck.
So awkward. So awkward.
So awkward. And
but
even if it's not a new partner.
Right. I'm just going to say it's still awkward in the kink community too. Like, it's an awkward conversation because it's like you are bearing your soul to someone else. Like, it's a very private thing. But in order to be safe and have the best fun you can have, you gotta be a little bit awkward.
I don't know what book I read at one point. I don't know what book it was, but it was pretty sure a book. And the FMC like couldn't bring herself to say the word sex. And I don't think it was the MMC that she was talking to. I think it was just a friend or whatever. But like, if you can't say sex out loud, you shouldn't be having it.
100% agree.
And that's the thing. Like, if you can't be vulnerable just emotionally and just mentally and emotionally without the physical involved, without the risk that actual intimacy involves, because it does. There's a risk. There's always a risk. You could fall off the bed. You don't know. And that's a risk. This is a risk. But if you don't feel safe and secure enough to talk to your partner outside of intimacy about your intimacy, you might want to rethink whether or not you're ready for intimacy or ready for intimacy with that partner.
Yes. 100%.
And I feel like in the kink community, there's a lot more, and this is where like we as women, we have to educate ourselves first and then teach our partners this next. Because in the kink community, ideally, both people who want to be dominant or top and people who want to be submissive or bottom go to learn those skills. There are places and resources for how to do a good job of both of those. Expressing yourself, hearing them, checking in with your partner, listening to those check-ins. There are resources out there to teach people. Now, does everybody use them? No. Are there still bad people out there? Absolutely.
Absolutely. There are mentors and there are educators who can help you as well.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like in vanilla world, and especially in heterosexual world, men still have an ego trip about them. Like, how dare you try to teach me about sex? My dick is magical. And unfortunately, it comes to us, like as women, as partners, to say, these are the standards. And this is what you as a partner should know about me, should be prepared for. And because also, like, if your partner, if you get to this conversation and your partner can't tell you what they like or dislike, that is a huge, not red flag of them as a human, but a red flag about their intimacy, a concern. Like, why don't they know? Why can't they express it? What trauma do they have? If they are like, I don't know, if their response isn't like, I just can't wait to stick it in your ass, but like, I don't know, don't you just stick it in your ass? That is a huge concern. If you've said, I've never done anal before, and your partner's like, penis just goes in, like, red flag.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, a big tenet in the kink community is that I've heard educators and people that I trust with much more knowledge than I have is do your own research. Like, teach yourself. Go out there, find the resources available, because they are out there. It's probably going to make you feel a little weird because you're typing in the search bar on Google or whatever, and don't just trust the online stuff. Find books, find
reputable sources. There are lots of ways. It sounds unsexy, but like medical journals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There are lots of ways. And I have found that there are a lot more resources geared toward queer humans because again, they're separate. So if you're someone who really wants to learn, if you're a woman and you're looking to try anal sex with a male partner, I would honestly look at resources for queer humans because they are intended to keep people safe. They are intended to educate and connect humans that, like, maybe this is the only way they will ever be taught about queer sex because they won't meet a queer human anywhere near them. That is important. And I find much better and more willing and kind of real. So, because honestly, a lot of the stuff that I have read or looked at, like that men are being taught how to please women, I'm like, some of it is good and some of it feels still very bro-y. Like, even if the, like, I don't like it. Like, I understand, like, even if the advice is stimulate the clit by going like up, like anterior wall, the way that you've delivered that is still so bro-y that I can't take you seriously.
Exactly.
So this is part 1 of our What Vanilla Can Learn from Kink. If you love a succinct ending, this is turning negotiations into conversations. Oh my God, that is totally what I'm going to subtitle this episode as.
Yes.
And turning negotiations into conversations. You have your likes and dislikes, how you communicate during intimacy, and planning your intimacy. I really hope this helps. If you have tips and tricks on what vanilla can learn from kink, you think that I need to put something into a future episode in this series, you can send me an email, leave me a voice note, or connect with me on social media. I am so excited to finally start this, and I hope that you're excited to come along for the ride. Bye.
Bye.
Jace Reads Romance is a 3 Paws Productions podcast. Produced by Sephi, edited by Michael Achenbach. Our theme song is written and performed by Diana Weishauer. For show notes and more, head to www.jacereadsromance.com. That's JAYCE Reads Romance. Follow us on socials at Jace Reads Romance everywhere. For more exclusive content, visit us on Substack, where you'll find extended episodes, bonus episodes, and more. Have a question, story, or a book recommendation you know I'll love? Email Jace at jacereadsromance.com or call and leave a voicemail at 661-JACE-RR. That's 661-529-2377. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. And as always, this is Jace, holding space for you.